get kicked off, I kind of want to go to like when this inflection point started for you. Like when did AI get introduced into your sort of creative process, right? And what was that like for you?
Sounds great. You can hear me, right? Perfect. Okay. If you don't mind, I would like to share my story, how, where I'm from and why I came to the United States and how
Please,
the whole,
take it from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, thank you everybody for being here. It's super awesome. My name is Amaru. I am originally from Ecuador. You can tell by my accent. So I came to the United States about 22 years ago to study media arts and animation because that was always my passion since I was a little kid, right? And then I had the amazing opportunity to stay here in the United States, go to school, study. I became a 3D artist, so I work for companies like Microsoft working on games. I work also for smaller studios as well, doing visual art and VFX as well. Then about 7-8 years ago, I was hired by Amazon to work for games for 2 years. Then after that, I moved to AWS, where I had an amazing opportunity to work on a technology that allows you to create 3D animation films in the cloud. So then I had the opportunity to write and direct my first short film, and it was an amazing experience. The short film was about, kids around the world don't have access to education. So it was a call for action for my culture, for my country, and for children around the world. Since I was a little kid, I always loved to tell the stories. But because either the technology didn't allow me to, or because I didn't have the education, or I didn't have the tools, it was always like, I had this amazing idea, but then how can I do it? And I had to rely on, getting to build a team or, spend a lot of money on tools and things like that. The reason I left Amazon, and that was a year and a half ago, is because of AI. And that's exactly your question, right?
Yeah.
So I still remember, so I worked with this team at Amazon for almost 6.5 years. And I saw Midjourney. I think it was, Midjourney is a tool that allows you to prompt images just with text. And I saw the potential about maybe I think it was 2 years ago. And I started to kind of like talk to the team at Amazon, say, hey, this is something that I think is going to, change the industry as a whole. Not only about filmmaking, but we're talking about content creation in general. Because you have ArchViz, which is for architecture. You have even for like writing, right?
Right.
So it's everything. So they saw it, but I guess they didn't. They were not that impressed, but I was. And to be honest, in 2023, it was when it became something that I was I was fearful actually. Because imagine like, I had one of my favorite, little projects that it used to take me 300 hours to create a CG render, right? And I was really proud of it.
300 hours.
Yeah. 300 hours, coming up with a story and then, getting into the computer and build everything from the ground up.
Right.
And then I can see that you can just prompt something and then get generated in minutes, right?
Yeah.
And now it's even seconds these days. So that actually got me like, I was fearful. Like I was like, okay, so what am I going to do with my career now? And because I am a very, very curious person, I love technology. I like to use whatever I see there, squeeze it like a lemon, right? Like really, really use it. I started using AI, and instead of being fearful, I actually saw the huge potential. And that combined with my skills of CG artist, director, whatever, actually like I saw the benefit of that, right? So that's why I started like looking for other opportunities. I started building a team inside of Amazon that it was supposed to be for generative AI. And then my ex GM of Amazon, he started a new startup. And he's like, hey, Amaru, I need someone like you. Come, just do some R&D and see what we can create. And that's the reason I left Amazon and joined the startup project.
That's such a good answer because it covered basically all the things that I want to talk about and contextualize them all or ask you about and answered the question. And I realized I should have maybe started in, I should have said bienvenido. Muchas gracias por estar aquí.
It's been.
No. I do want to talk about Ecuador a little bit, or ask you about Ecuador because, how does that play into your craft? Your country and sort of the story of moving to the United States. What is that? How do you use that in building something like Pichu, for example?
You know, I love the United States. Obviously, it's my second home. It has given me the opportunity to become the professional I am. I've met some wonderful people, but I'm always going to go back to my roots, right? So I am proudly Ecuadorian. I think like, it kind of gives me like a different perspective around the world, right? So we talk about democratize education or filmmaking. It definitely goes back to my roots. So my country and other countries like Ecuador, they actually need this technology to democratize and give them opportunities to do things that I couldn't do, right?
Right.
I would love to, like every time I'm using, and we can talk about what I'm doing at GripTape because it's not only about visual, it's all actually like LLMs and how AI work. But one of the things that I would do is like create something for education, in parts of Ecuador that they don't have access to actual education with AI, and be more educative in that sense.
Yeah, it's a good point because there's many parts in the world that don't have the filmmaking infrastructure, the same industry to support filmmakers, and now you have this technology standing in for them in a big way, really making something possible for a whole community, right? So that's really amazing. That's a great point. And so let's talk about GripTape a little bit because that is something I did want to touch on. Like, what are you learning at GripTape right now? All right, what do you see most as the creative director of GripTape?
It's a great question. I'm learning a lot. So one of the things that people say, like, AI is going to take your job. I don't think that's going to happen in the next 5 years, maybe in 20, who knows? Nobody knows, to be honest. What I do think, though, people who are actually using AI and learning to, enhance their skills with AI are going to actually be replacing people who don't. I know it sounds harsh, but that's my belief anyway, so take it with a grain of salt. So because of that, I'm also like thinking of this, my own theory, I guess. Roles on all industries are actually like merging. I'll give you a clear example. So
Yeah.
GripTape, we are like 25 people right now. 24 of us are ex-AWS, interesting. But most of them, they're engineers because we have a framework that allows you to build AI agents. So it's all about like, large language models. And then we have a little part of GripTape that allows me to explore different technologies to invest in the M&E industry, which is the media entertainment. So, the things that I'm learning is that I didn't know that I can code, and I can code now. But the engineers didn't know that they can create art, and they can create art now.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I keep thinking about. Like, I can actually create things that I never thought I could. It's not only about the creative, right? It's about like really exploring and trying to find like even new things that you can do. And I couldn't believe, like, before I joined GripTape, I didn't know what Python was. And Python is a language to...
Yeah, it's a programming language.
program. Yeah, there you go. And, using ChatGPT, Claude, like any other chats out there, I was able to educate myself and be comfortable enough things, right? So imagine like the potential that now that you can have. It's just really, really amazing.
Yeah. Our website, I basically built with Perplexity, right? It's amazing how much, and I program for a living in a sense, but still, it's so much more productive what you can do when you're using these tools at basically any job, it sounds like. Whether you're originally creative or the technical side, it really is accelerating it all of it. So that's really interesting to see. Maybe, can you tell us a little bit more about GripTape, the company? Like what is, you mentioned a little about the framework. What is GripTape? What are you all doing?
So, we definitely believe in open source, right? I don't know if you're familiar with open source, but it means that whoever invents something, that's why I think OpenAI is kind of funny because it's not really open.
Yeah.
It's more like closed AI.
Closed AI, yeah.
For you. But our framework is open, so you can get the repo out of GitHub and build different AI agents.
Right.
We support. We are amazing at supporting like any types of API, so you can interconnect like different applications. Right now, we created like the entire grid tape to work with Comfy UI, and Comfy UI is the back end of generating images. So imagine that you can have and build AI agents with large language models connected in Comfy UI and really enhance the way that you prompt and create images and things like that.
So Comfy is a really interesting case because it's really one of a kind.
Yeah.
Right? Like in terms of, so Comfy UI, maybe can expand a little bit on what Comfy UI is and sort of what the role of open source is with especially filmmaking, the video generation piece of things, and what you think makes Comfy UI so special.
First of all, I think probably because it's open.
Yeah.
So you get to create anything with any type of models. You're not constrained with anything. You can do this 100% local on your machine. So you don't like if you create something with Sora, which is video, or you create something with Midjourney, or using a model that is paid. First, you have to pay. Second of all, it goes to the cloud, so it's not private. So let's just say that you're working on a very important project, and it could be like architecture or anything, something like that. And you need like privacy, right? Especially like at Amazon, when I was working, like everything was so secure. So the fact that you get to create your own workflows and work 100% local on your machine is priceless. And the second thing, it's probably the biggest strength and the biggest weakness of Comfy UI is the community. Because it's open source, it has allowed Comfy UI to really bump up their game and progress drastically. Right now, Comfy UI, it's like being used in so many different ways because of the community is helping to make it grow. Building tools, building nodes, things like that. But then it's also kind of like a little bit like the weakness because it's not that stable, right? Because you have open source, so everybody can pitch in and work and do things for Comfy UI. So sometimes that becomes a little bit unstable and it can be a little bit annoying as well.
Do you still use Comfy UI in your personal workflow?
Every day.
Every day.
I use AI. The moment I wake up, my wife is tired of me mentioning about AI. It's just maybe because I'm a very curious person. And the first thing that I do when I wake up, I do some meditation sometimes. Then after that, I have my little like 30 minutes of just searching on the web what's new. So if I see something that is new, my brain is like, okay, go to the computer and try it because I'm constantly trying things. And
what would you advise? What advice would you give filmmakers, or really, it's looking like anyone who want to keep up with the technology? You're talking about being curious and kind of learning every single day. What's helped you in this process of keeping up with the tool?
That's a great question. Even after almost 2 years of using AI, I want to be honest, I still sometimes feel it in my gut, I guess. I don't in my stomach when I see something, you can make this amazing video with just a prompt. I'm like, wow, what am I going to do? But then immediately my brain is like, no, chill, calm down.
The fear factor's still there. That sort of gut feel of,
yeah.
Like what's this going to do now?
Yeah, but what it worked for me is like, I still have all my skills from working in the industry. And if I feel that way, the thing that I do immediately is just do something with that tool and see what's the potential. Because also we have to be careful. Companies like Sora, like OpenAI, and they want to like promote their models. So they're going to like cherry pick little things, right? So if you see something on LinkedIn that says, this is the best video model, and you see all these amazing videos, those are cherry picks. It means that they have to prompt like hundreds of videos to get the best ones, right? So that becomes a little bit, the fear comes back. But then if I start using the tool, I'm like, okay, so I guess, you still need the creative part. You still need the person to drive AI. You need to art direct AI, not AI art direct view, right?
Right.
So that's what I do. Like I see something, I start using it, and then I use my skills to say, okay, so this is something, then how can I even enhance it with my skills, right? It could be 3D, it could be creative. At the end of the day, when I'm creating prompts, it's coming from here. AI is helping me write the prompts better again. But yeah, that's the things that I do to, not to build that way.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. I recall the CEO of Runway talking, using an analogy for all of the, different cuts and B-rolls that it takes in filmmaking. In filmmaking, you'll record a bunch of films and later in editing figure out which ones you want to use, which is kind of analogous to prompting a whole lot of different things, getting a whole lot of different videos out of these models, and then in the editing phase, deciding which you're going to use, right? And so, the process does carry over. Do you see it that way? Do you use the tool? Do you find that the iterative process of the prompting is sort of a way to further explore what you're going to actually visualize?
Yes and no. So I think, again, this is a totally different animal in terms of technology. I can give an example. So when I was learning Maya to make 3D objects in games, I knew that modeling from A and following like A, B, C, it does the same thing. With AI, it's a little bit different because if today I go A, B, C, and then I can prompt an image, the models themselves, like AI is actually evolving like every week.
Yeah.
So the prompts that I'm creating for this week and might not be the same ones that I need for in a month.
Okay.
So you kind of have to keep up with technology, like no matter what, every day.
So it's moving so fast, really the process isn't really ever stable for very long.
Not for
right?
me.
Not for you.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think, filmmakers and creatives are trying to come up with what is the process of using these tools.
Yeah, even before AI, I always told all my teams that I work with, never use only one single tool. I'm not a true believer that one tool does everything. So even now with AI, I don't think like Sora can create a short film. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. You still need the script. You can use ChatGPT or whatever. You still need like maybe creating the images with Midjourney, with Config UI. So there's still like so many different tools. So that I see it, my best workflow is to try to use everything. Let's just say that I have a little project, and at Grip Tape, I'm working with a real customer. It's a tequila company. So they want to create like images with their bottles, right? With the tequila bottles. So if I have a project and I spend one day doing some R&D, right? Research and development. So I lay down and like write down all the tools that I can use right now and start like actually going through and see which one is going to help me the most. Because I think like for every project it's going to be different. After that day, the next day, I'm ready to use those tools and I just go from there.
So, we talked a little bit about Pichu. I kind of want to go back to it. I know that you're at Cannes Film Festival. You were awarded the best director for that film. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing. At the Austin AI Film Festival, we're giving awards in 5 different categories. It's mostly around storytelling. But what does it do to a filmmaker to win these kinds of awards? What does it mean to you? And how do you see Pichu as part of your journey? What did that film in particular mean for you?
That's a very profound and personal question. Thank you. I think I never imagined winning anything, to be honest. When we had the opportunity to create a short film inside of Amazon, the team wanted to hire like a director. And I thought like, why? I mean, we have creative people here. Let's just come up with different stories and pick one. So that's what we did. Mm. I never thought about anything like that, like winning awards or like nothing. For me, it was all about telling the story with a call for action. And it's something that I'm a true believer in education in certain way. And I know what my country is going through and like other countries around the world, right? So Pichu was extremely special to me. And I think like maybe at the very end, when I actually like finished the film, because I wasn't only like directing the film, I was helping the team create the 3D world and like the assets and everything, right? Because we were a small team. So I was fully committed, and I was working probably like, 18 hours a day or something like that, because I really wanted.
Wow.
Yeah. It was it's only like 4 minutes, or like 5 minutes. Our team was super small, so we had to like pitch in and like do different things. But after we were done with the film, I went to Ecuador to present the film. That was probably the most beautiful experience that I have ever had in my life. Why? Because when we went there, we host 300 kids from rural areas. 80% of them, they didn't even know what a movie theater was. So that was the first time going to a movie theater. So we bought we did some catering, so there was some food, some drinks for the kids. But then I did a making of the film. So I showed them and inspired them. And it was a beautiful moment for me. At the very end of the presentation, they saw the film and they approached to me, about 20 kids or so, to say congratulations. And each one of them had, a profession that they want to be, like a profession they want to follow.
Right.
And that moment for me was just, like priceless. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You probably changed those kids' lives. Like,
it inspired them. Yeah, that was my main goal. Yeah, exactly.
That's thank you for doing that. I think that's very beautiful. And this theme of education, what do you hope to do more with that? Is that something that you're going to, kind of continue?
When I went to Ecuador, I also was invited by different universities. So, of course, they're not kids anymore. And it was also like I did a couple of presentations to inspire them again, because, and now if we connect AI, I think, like the new generations, like kids under the age of 10, they're not going to see much of a different of a world because that's the way I think, of course. Take it with a grain of salt. That's how I believe. Yeah. Because they're growing with the technology, right? People like ourselves are having a little bit of a hard time because we have to adopt it right now, right? People who are older, they're probably retired. Probably AI is going to even help them in terms of, health and things like that. So I feel like the generation that needs the help the most is the generation that is coming out of college right now, out of university, because now you have to find a job. And the jobs are transitioning with AI, they're changing with AI. So my hope for that is definitely keep, going to different universities, inspiring the young generations. And education also kind of goes back to me because I am a true believer that you really should be doing what you're passionate about, for real, It's okay, Amaru, you're saying that because, you're lucky if you're doing what you love. And I don't know if I'm lucky. I think I'm lucky that I found a passion, right? But the passion is not enough because you can be passionate about going to the gym, but there's no commitment. If there is no pushing yourself to keep getting better, that passion can fade away. So my key is to always talk to the younger generation, help them find their true talents, their passions, and also the commitment and keep pushing and believe in the things that you like to do.
So hopefully this recording reaches a lot of children around the world. There have been a lot of applications around the world, by the way. It's really amazing how everyone's involved in this. How would you say, what would you tell them about harnessing that passion, once they find it, you mentioned commitment and dedication. Do you think about discipline in your sort of artistic approach to things? How do you, make it a daily commitment, or how do you make daily commitments to follow up with your passion?
What has worked for me is to literally, maybe create a schedule. Let's just say that you have a project, right? You have 1 month. Let's put it 1 month. Every time, first of all, you have to know that it's okay if you get inspired by a project that you want to work on and then you get demotivated. It's fine. I mean, we are human beings. We go through life and, relationships and family, things like that. Or just you don't feel like working. It's totally fine. I used to think that that's not fine. I am a very positive person. I'm a very passionate. So when I feel like I don't have passion, like what's wrong with me? But I learned that that's okay. And that will come back again. So one of the things that I do, speaking about discipline, is that just mark 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, you just do whatever you have to do for the project. But have patience. It's not like in 30 minutes you're going to create a short film, in my case. Every 30 minutes, work on something, learn something new. It's super valuable. Be involved with the community is extremely valuable as well. And then go from there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Advances and becomes, so powerful. The values of patience and discipline, these things don't go away, and they may become even more valuable. But you mentioned community, right? And, going back to where we started, in terms of how we met in the Austin community, what has the Austin community done for or what role has the Austin community, let's say, played in this sort of phase of your artistic journey?
That I'm not alone,
Yeah.
Like, I moved from Seattle. I spent almost 70 years in Seattle, beautiful city. Then we decided to move to Austin to be closer to Ecuador. My wife's from Colombia, so it's easier to travel, right? Every year there. My mom lives in Florida, so it's closer. And Austin has been an amazing city, so I actually really like it. But the communities, I'm not alone. You meet a lot of wonderful people who are actually also trying to learn. Again, this is such a new technology, and the whole industry is extremely new, that it's really nice to, know that there's more people like yourself, like really curious to keep learning and, have amazing opportunity to meet.
Yeah. So, I love Austin, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. And I think it's a really privileged to get to do what we're doing here in this city, and so glad that artists like you are here. I mean, that really makes a big difference. I kind of want to talk about the business side of things a little bit, because this is kind of new, and there's a lot of things on the business side of filmmaking that it still hasn't really come to fruition yet. When we think about the democratization of filmmaking and the accessibility of it, some of these filmmakers don't really have, let's say, a large following that they can go then monetize their films with, right? So in sort of where we are today, do you have any advice for, say, the filmmaker that's sort of this independent filmmaker that has this sort of native talent that they're building out with AI, but they don't have the distribution channels for their films yet? And maybe if you can add to it have you seen any way or any glimpse of the monetization that's going to come about in terms of content creation with AI?
I think there's a couple of things here. People were saying not too long ago, okay, now AI, let's just say that we have a short film, right? And then you need 200 people to make this short film, right? Maybe now you need, let's put it like a number, like 25, right? So what does it mean? That people or companies need less people to create a project? Maybe that's true. But because it's cheaper, I see that there's going to be more little studios actually growing. So maybe Pixar, I don't know, sorry to say Pixar, but it's a company. Yeah,
For example,
they're gonna need less people, right? But maybe I can make up my new, short film studios now, right? And that's what we're trying to do at GripDev as well, like have a little bit of this studios part where you can do things with much less people. So even though, you might need less people to make something, but then I think you're gonna have the opportunity to actually do things that you thought that you couldn't do.
So you believe in the studio model for like small studios, because those have been popping up, right? You see some sort of more, bigger names creating these studios. How do you see the studios playing a role in this new industry? Do you think there's just going to be a lot of them, and you're going to just see a sort of proliferation of them? How do you stand out if you're a studio now?
I think you can actually take an advantage. Let's go back to Pichu. You know, the story at Pichu, if I was working for Pixar, they probably will say no, because that's a very hard topic like to invest on, which is, because the film complains about the government who doesn't give the infrastructure for the kids to go to school, right? That's another part.
Yeah.
So, having the ability to tell stories that probably Pixar, Disney, and other companies won't be able to tell because of different, I don't know how you call it, ethics or company values, let's put it that way. It kind of like gives you the opportunity to actually be really creative and trying to push that. One of the things that you can do, again, be involved with the community, but also be heavily, active on LinkedIn. Could be LinkedIn, because nowadays also like everything is online, right? So you see a lot of different posts, and maybe invest a little bit of money on advertising your whatever it is that you want to work on.
Yeah. So invest in your community. There's no way around that for everyone watching this at home, right? And that's really interesting what you're saying about being sort of a values-driven or a values-driven approach to standing out. There's some things that big companies won't be able to do that if you stand up for it, you can sort of be heard about it. And the Austin AI Film Festival is really big on storytelling. We want to be able to hear the stories that are being told, no matter what they are. If they're controversial, just the best story should win, right? There may be some backlash for that, right? And so you do need to, if you believe in what you're standing up for, maybe that's sort of a way to cut through the noise. Yeah. I think maybe just in a general way, what do you see right now, the filmmakers, whether it's AI filmmakers or traditional filmmakers, what's the opportunity that they're not taking advantage of most?
I think like not being curious enough. I want to say it. Yes. Curiosity, I think, is one of my biggest strengths. Because of curiosity, I ended up working for one of the biggest corporations like Microsoft and Amazon to smaller studios, and now really reimagine the industry that Griptep is allowing me to do, which is beautiful. So I think that's one of my main things. Don't be afraid, or it's okay to be afraid. Use it, embrace it, use your curiosity and do something with it, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be too complex, right? There is one thing that we're talking about fear really quick. People are saying like, or, like a kid, and maybe like in a couple years, a 10-year-old can actually prompt a film, right? So we talk about democratizing filmmaking, but I also understand the fear of filmmakers who went through school or make out of, this out of living. Now that they're gonna say, okay, now a kid can actually prompt a film, so why am I gonna do, right? So you also have that part that it's a little bit up in the air, I guess. But I think like right now, it's the moment to be curious again. Right now is the moment to really enjoy, embrace the technology and try to use it as much as I can. I'm telling you, it's actually really fun. Like if I don't use AI, like one day I get like desperate. It's just that the possibilities are amazing. If I have had AI, like really quick, when I was writing Pichu, because I was working for AWS, I had to go through like different lawyers and like BP directors to get the script approved. And because obviously ESL, right, English as a second language, I had to write the script on my own. I wish I had ChatGPT at that time. It took me a month because you had to write the script. I thought it was going to be like a straightforward, but a script, it has different elements, and then it has to be approved by these people. So, imagine now I can actually build, Pichu 2 and write with ChatGPT, and that's actually what I'm doing. Like I'm using different LLMs to help me become a better writer, right? I was writing a document for a very important person at AWS before I left about AI, and I used ChatGPT to make the document more, professional, I guess. So that's democratizing not only about filmmaking, but it's democratizing everything, right?
It's like the best things are on the other side of fear. right? If you can just get through that initial fear, you end up having more powerful tools or capabilities. And so curiosity as the antidote to that fear.
For me.
For you. Well, it's a good question, because this is part of what we want to also help traditional filmmakers do with this podcast and through the festival, is building a bridge, help them see the other side of fear, right? And what that's going to bring. Maybe you have something else that you'd like to share to the traditional filmmakers that are in the, sort of the actual, let's call it the industry today. What would your advice be to them? Or would it just be, embrace that curiosity?
Well, yeah, it's not only about the curiosity, but also think about your strengths as a filmmaker, as a content creator. Could be because you are a 3D modeler, or you actually like directing films. Embrace that and remember that all what you have been doing in the past years, it's not useless, actually like extremely useful. And just remember that, it's not only about curiosity, but also like merging the skills that you have as a traditional content creator or digital artist with AI. And also know that AI is changing the whole world, right? I did a presentation in Barcelona a year and a half ago, where I was giving the presentation similar to this. I had a couple of, psychologists really concerned about, because they were asking like, now ChatGPT can be your psychologist and your doctor and things like that. So I think, obviously that's not true. You shouldn't trust an LLM for everything. They hallucinate. They hallucinate for creating images, hallucinate for creating videos, and of course, for LLMs as well. But just have that in mind, and just imagine the things that you couldn't do before AI that now you can do.
Yeah, public service announcement. Don't believe everything LLMs tell you.
Yeah,
right.
Never.
Don't forget that. One of the things in talking to the traditional industry, VFX veterans there, one of the big concerns they have is copyright.
Yes, that's a very, very delicate topic, to be honest.
You think we can tread all over that topic?
I mean, there's a website that is called I forgot the name. It's almost like you can check if your content has been trained on different models, right?
Yeah.
My content has, right? So I always had that dilemma where, especially this year, after almost a year of VidTape, I started like creating these different projects, and I was very concerned at the beginning, like very, applying my own ethics, because I am a digital artist, right? I create art, but then if I'm using these models, am I stealing images maybe from different artists? I don't know. We're becoming into a point that it's almost impossible to know, right? This might be a little bit, I should be careful what I'm about to say, but it's, I don't think like bigger companies are actually caring too much, to be honest. Like, let's think about like, a company can train on your stuff, but then you want to be very, ethical, and you want to, respect your own values. So I'm not going to be doing that. But if you don't do that, you're going to be behind. It's always like back in my head like that. So I'm trying to balance that out. At VidTape, we always try to make it as ethical as possible, knowing that the industry is moving way faster than trying to keep it all ethical, if that makes sense. Really quick thing. But because of that, we have created a very cool little project, and that you can train, image models based on your own content. So that's what I have done. I have another short film that I did before Pichu. I did on my own. That was about global warming, and it's called Life Hunter. And I was able to train a AI model based on my own art, and that's priceless. So then I can actually use that to generate the continuation of the short film without spending hours and hours and hours of recreating the world. And that's really mind-blowing, right?
Yeah, and you can probably sell it a lot easier, right? Because you have all the rights to that content.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this concept of an ethically trained model, right? I think maybe would like to hear your thoughts, but let me see if I can explain what it is, and you tell me if I'm on base or not. It's the idea that you know exactly what data went into that training, and you know you have the ownership rights to that data, and so that model now is ethical to use because you know you're not ripping any artist off.
Exactly. I can give you a clear example. Let's just said Nike has a new pair of shoes, right? Nobody has seen them. And they build already the shoe, and they can go ahead and take 300 images of that shoe, high quality. They can train a model on a personal computer, it's not on the cloud, like what we do is on the computer, and then you have that model to generate marketing material right off the bat, right? So that's using your own product to actually, train something and then start creating. Like,
does GripTape use that term that you do?
Yeah, we're doing some interesting little project, like with a tequila bottle, for instance. We train models based on the tequila bottle because, one thing that you can see on LinkedIn, oh, this is an amazing video because it has AI and it's very realistic. And okay, sure. But when you go into like product photography or like product advertisement, is a totally different story. Because a product, like a tequila bottle has like the label and it has the text and the letter, like everything has to be exactly because the customer, the client is gonna need that, right? If it's a Nike shoe, it has to be exactly how it is. So then that's when it comes in handy, like, training your own data sets on a product and then reuse that. It's just, I did that even with my own face. I can put my face on my short film, like super quickly training LoRa's. It's called LoRa, low ranking adaptation.
Yeah.
So it's just really fascinating.
Yeah, a bit of a technical term there, LoRa's, right? Maybe, I don't know if you want to give a shot explaining what that is.
Sure. So a LoRa is a tiny little file. Let's just say that, I don't know if you're familiar with different image generation models like Flux, which is one of the most famous right now. It's really, really powerful. You have a stable diffusion as well. So those are two really amazing models. When you train a LoRa, is that you take that model and then you give it some information. You give it by images, and then you give it the description. We call it captioning. So the model will take that information and it will learn. How much it learns, it depends how much power you have in your computer, right? Because again, AI is driven by GPUs. So you need that, that power to gather all that information, and it will just learn for like half an hour, 1 hour, whatever, depends how many images you give it. After it learns everything. It could learn about color theory. It could learn about how the cameras are behaving. It could learn about your face. I mean, anything in real. And then after that file is stored in your computer. You can actually use that file to create images with that file. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. It's always good to kind of try to explain it a little bit. I know technical terms can maybe sometimes get lost. I know everyone here knows what a LoRa is, so we'll move on from that topic. Okay, so I'm curious to as we're trying to build out this community for the Austin AI Film Festival, what would you like to see more happen in Austin? Our event is March 14th and 15th. We're going to get as many AI filmmakers, technologists in this AT&T Conference Center on campus. What's maybe one request that you would have of our organizing team? What do you think success would look like for that event?
Well, first of all, I think what you're doing is super amazing, really cool. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I think always goes back to my memories when I was more like a traditional, I guess, content creator. It's about sharing, I guess. And if there is a part of this film festival that kind of has a little bit of making of, and that you can show all the different technologies that you actually utilize to create your short film. It's almost like you're sharing a little bit of your knowledge with the community. It could be like maybe after the short films, I don't know, something like that. That could be very valuable. Or have a show and tell and bring some of the, directors and kind of show how they're doing things. You know what I mean?
So show how the process and the tools
exactly.
and the data, basically everything that went into making that film.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Take notes, team. Let's make that happen.
Remember, 90% of my time during the day, the first 2 hours of my morning is learning, and how I learn what I see online, right? And then I can decide, okay, I can make this actually better with my own way of creating things. So not having to look for that all the time online and actually be in person and ask questions, that's actually priceless.
Yeah. So hopefully we can, bring on one of the panels or one of the one of these events. I know there's going to be a lot of people during the festival having these kinds of questions, and I think they can definitely learn from you. So.
That's a great question. Character consistency, before like 2 or 3 months was like image interpolation to prepare like a smooth videos, and now you can actually do it. With the characters themselves, I mean, we haven't really created a project that requires a character, but my first advice will be to generate the character and then train the LoRa on the character. But then training a LoRa, like let's just say that, I don't know, you want to use Flux, right? And then you can use Flux Gym, which is open source. So you can train it on your machine or pay a service and do it on the web. But then maybe study a little bit how actually LoRa's are affecting the model themselves. Because I noticed that, you might think like a LoRa is better because you train it with, I don't know, 500 images. I actually found out that it's not, right? I was able to, and when you train, it's super expensive in terms of the GPU consumption. So usually you have to train it at 512 by 512 image, right? So it's like a small image. But I found out that sometimes if you want to train a character's face, like my own face, I was better off at training at maybe 1024 by 1024, but only like 10 images. It takes about the same amount of time, but I'm still trying to figure that out myself as well. It's very interesting. I think I guess like building tools. I don't know if this will answer your question, but the way I see it, if you can, I don't know, you have a team that you have, engineers or like that more technical people. One of the things that it could benefit is like you can create a tool that connects an AI tool like Config UI with Blender, which is a 3D software, right? So trying to build that connection or like some sort of a plugin, it could be something that they might get inspired by it and try to pursue that way. That's one thing that it comes out of my head, but I don't know.
Yeah. From a technical perspective, the frustration of your code not working is probably like the worst thing in the world. But then the power trip you get when it actually works, probably honing on that. Yeah.
What are some features that you'd like to see in the AI tools that you're using for filmmaking, like new features?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think like VFX, right? So you have like explosions, liquids, like simulation. I know like simulation, they're starting to pop up now, finally. There's even like one model that you can generate explosions with a transparent background. So you can just generate it and then put it on your film, and then you have an amazing tool there. So probably that, I would love to see more enhanced physics. At the end of the day, like the Sora model, they say that it's not only about generating a video, but it's simulating the world. But to simulate the world, the models have to be better at understanding the world itself. How, the reflections and refractions of the glass and how the water is supposed to move in different ways. So I think like we still haven't seen like a super powerful model that it does something like that, and I would love to definitely see something like that. That's a great question. Actually goes back to my little story. Like when I wanted to become a 3D artist. That was like 25 plus years ago. My mom in Ecuador, she's like, I don't know, because I don't know what are you gonna be doing with 3D. Like I don't even understand it. That's what my mom used to say. And she wasn't even sure that I should come to Seattle and study that because she didn't know, right? So one of the things like it's to do, and I think you're already doing it, is like educate yourself. to see what's the potential as well with the technology in the industry. The second thing is, you know, I go back to how I feel, and I'm a true believer that if you have the opportunity to support your kid on something that he or she really, really, really wants and really wants to invest their time and find passion about it, I will try to, you know, support him or she, the best way you can. I mean, so right now, like, again, you came here, so you're trying to understand a little bit how the industry is moving and how the whole, you know, filmmaking industry is going to be, you know, adopting these new technologies. Another thing that it could be key is like maybe have him, or is it him? Yeah, sorry. Have him use the tools, like even right now, and see if he really likes it. Because, you know, one thing, like when I was starting to become a game designer, I was super excited. I had my first job at Microsoft. I was going to be working on Forza Horizon game. I was super excited. But then when I got into the job, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to do this is not me. But that sparked different paths for myself to find my own way, right? So I think like having actually like start using tools and see if he really likes that. And he might end up finding different ways or different parts of the industry that he's really in love.
I think that's a beautiful question, a great point to say this episode is dedicated to the children and to the passion of those children. And please join me in thanking Amaru for his time here and for joining us today.